I'll press record and I just want to say hi everyone. I'm Alison. I'm from the Southern Cross Postgraduate Association, and welcome to Liz's workshop on what is your money personality. If people can request it, I can stop recording. If you want to have a conversation, and then I can kind of press record again. So just remind me. So over to you, Liz.
Oh, lovely. Thank you, Alison. And that was great because we did just have a bit of a chat beforehand. We know that when we're talking and going through these workshops, we are talking about money and personal finance, and it's called personal finance because it's personal. So we can talk about things that you may not want other people to hear about. So absolutely, if you want to have a discussion, just let us know and we can turn the recording off, because we really want you to be able to get the most out of the time that we've got together. But in addition to that, of course, I'm here if there is things that we're talking about that you want to talk to me in a confidential space. We have those. So the SCPA have me here available to meet with you individually, one-on-one, consultations for, financial counselling or coaching, whatever it is. So if there's things we go through today that kind of trigger something for you that you feel like you want to talk through, know that I'm available, and you can get in contact through Alison's email, so the skills@SCPA, but I'll bring that up at the end of the session anyway. So wonderful, so exciting to have you three here. And what I usually do like to begin with is just acknowledging, because obviously the association is here to support all of the postgraduate students, and what amazing work that you're all doing in such a variety of areas. So those students who registered for this session today, I just took a little bit of a snapshot just to get a feel for what are the areas that you're studying and what's your background. And that was kind of the chart that I made based on those who had registered. Really nice to see there's, a nice split across the different faculties and areas. And again, want to just acknowledge that wealth of knowledge and experience that you're all coming to these workshops with, which I don't want you to, if you don't have a business or an accounting background, it doesn't make you any less qualified or able to have a really happy financial life. So all the skills that you've obviously, built up over your lifetime of study and work is so valuable. So really nice just to acknowledge all the work that you're doing. So the key thing, I guess I wanted to just cover off, if you haven't come across me before, I have really been partnering with the SCPA for nearly a year. So we started running workshops at the end of last year, and now we've been doing monthly topics to really help support you to develop a sort of a healthier relationship with money, to take away that cognitive load that money can cause, so that you're freed up to really enjoy and get the most out of your studies. So just in terms of background about myself, so I worked as a senior management accountant, business analyst, qualified CPA for about 15 years. And then I moved into education. So I've been working at Southern Cross for about 4.5 years, teaching accounting at the postgrad and undergrad level. Alongside that, feeding in as a subject matter expert to the CPA's courses. And I also work at Swinburne University. So I love teaching accounting, business, financial literacy topics. And then also alongside that is my passion for financial literacy education and coaching. So I run a business that coaches and mentors and supports primarily women with their relationship with money. So I have a qualification in financial counselling, which helps me to do that. So I'm kind of bringing all of those skills and experiences to you when I run these workshops, but also if you want to meet with me one-on-one, you can sort of draw upon any of those knowledge bases that I have, and we can work through things together. So as I mentioned, the key mission, my mission, is really to help you make you feel more confident and capable financially. So we've really brought a number of different workshop topics to you already, looking at, most of them have really been quite focused on the dollars and cents. And this one is actually a little bit different today. So, but nonetheless, very important. So the focus, as you've seen the title, hence why you're probably here and interested, is wanting to, I guess, make people aware that money isn't just about the dollars and cents, and being aware of, how you can budget, what kind of modelling you can do, interest rates, all of those. But, we've looked at tax as a topic, we've looked at investing, we've looked at debt management, but I really wanted us to also take a moment to think about our money personality and some of the behavioural aspects around money, which are really important when you're thinking about your financial well-being, and your ability to have a relationship with money that you're really proud of and happy with. So really, in this hour that we've got together, I find just covering off sort of 3 key things is quite useful. So that's what we're going to look at today. As usual, please, there's only 3 of you here, so if you've got a question or anything that comes to mind, just raise your hand, or add a question to the discussion or the chat, whatever you like. It's really quite casual, so it's all good. So the first thing I wanted to look at is, I guess, what is money personality? What does it mean? And why might it be important if you're thinking about, trying to improve your relationship with money? So the first thing I really wanted to bring up was this idea that everybody has a different money personality. And I wonder if any of you might like to share, or have you thought about your money personality before, or maybe think even just looking at what I have listed out there and a group of people, what you might sort of, I guess, words you might use to characterize your money personality. So Isabel's opened up there.
I know. Yeah, I've never thought of money personalities. I've never seen this before in my life, but
okay.
I saw the ostrich and I didn't look anywhere else. That's me.
Okay.
That's totally me.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, good. So, and what you'll see here is I've brought up, and we will go through this. There's obviously a lot of different ways of categorizing money personality. Some are more advanced in sort of, we're looking at like a research tool or a personality psychological tool. Some of them are probably more rigorous than others. Some of them are probably more even entertainment based. But this one was quite easy, as nicely Isabel automatically just read some of them and saw the images and identified with them. And what I really want to bring and get us to think about today is not necessarily trying to find the best tool, but what we're really using them for is to help us to reflect and identify with what sort of is the strongest archetype or personality that drives our money behavior. And it's first really wanting to bring awareness to that. So the more that you can be aware of how you interact with money, you're going to be able to then change and modify things about it. So so really nice. Firstly, so you're thinking that you're an ostrich, which is somebody who would be somebody who just puts their head in the sand, doesn't want to talk about money, doesn't want to think about it. And there can be also all sorts of reasons why we are the personality we are too. And that's something that we could talk through in a sort of a counselling, one-on-one sort of session. To help you if you want to change things. There's all sorts of reasons why we are what we are. But first, I guess I just wanted to introduce to you, for those who haven't thought of it before, okay, what is my money personality? Wei-Ru, do you identify with any of those that are listed up there?
Probably the saver, because I feel like I'm always saving, but I never really get to where I want to be.
Okay, great, cool. Okay, brilliant. So you've got that saver energy. And Stefan, anything there that sort of jumps out for you?
I guess the saver and the investor.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Sometimes also the big spender. And
that is a really brilliant point to bring up as well. I'm so glad you did, is that you might first look at it and have a dominant personality that you feel like is the one that drives most of your behaviours or thoughts around money. But what you've said there is really important too, is that you don't necessarily just have one, and there may be different times in your life where one might be more dominant, for different reasons. So when we're younger, if you were to do research about personality over time, and we were looking at just averages, you could imagine the mentality of a younger person. Stereotypes would probably be somebody who would spend money, they're enjoying life, they don't have any responsibilities. But as you become, go through other life stages and have different responsibilities, your personality may adjust as well due to those environmental or situational factors. But really important to also think and be aware of what is your dominant underlying personality, which we all sort of do have, for all sorts of reasons. So that's really good to just sort of firstly have an exposure to, okay, what is this idea about money personality, and the fact that you can have a number of them also sort of coming up at different times in your life as well. And also from day to day, so it can just change. But I guess the key thing is why is it important? So why would it be important to understand your money personality? And the key thing, I know I've got a, you know, it could be a bit of a silly quote here, but it's really powerful too, is that obviously having that awareness is what precedes choice, and then choice precedes change. So what I'm really trying to encourage is, you know, you may be on a journey to try and change your financial situation, and understanding the dollars and cents and doing a budget and setting a savings plan or having goals, all of those things are really important. But what you'll find is a large part of the outcomes, the actual things you do with money, are hugely driven by our behaviours. So I'm not a psychology background, and we may have people who are listening back to this who will have a lot more knowledge and expertise in this area. But I think just at this basic level, we can understand that we know that ourselves, our behaviours really drive the outcomes and things that we do with our money. So it's really important to think about, why is it that we do what we do? And what we do is because we think particular things about money as well. So it's some of those beliefs that drive the behaviours. So in this session, this workshop, one of the key things I'd like you to be able to take away from it is a curiosity, an interest in maybe digging a little bit deeper in terms of understanding yourself in this particular domain. So you might have thought about it before in terms of, okay, what's my personality generally? You know, am I an introvert, am I extrovert, whatever it is. You might have done that kind of study, thinking about what jobs would suit you, that kind of thing. But what I'd like you to sort of kind of shift the focus to just thinking about in terms of your relationship with money. What is my personality? What are the dominant thoughts and feelings that I have? So what's going to be really helpful is and we'll get to some of the tools and techniques that you can use to help increase that awareness. But at this stage, I guess it's just really important to know that having that awareness is really powerful, because if there's things that you are not so happy, so Wayru, you're saying that you're a really good saver, but you just don't feel like you're getting to those goals, it may be some of those behavioural things that are preventing you from getting there. So it might be that you have a goal to save X and you do save these little bits, but maybe you spend money on something else, and you want to understand, why is it that I'm sabotaging myself in a way? So you can start to unpick and unravel some of that. Because if you know those behavioural things, you can set yourself up for success. That's the key, that really. So that's, I guess, the why of this workshop today. You know, the more you understand and know yourself, the better. How does everybody feel about you know, their money personality? Do you feel like it was something that would be stable and constant, and you've always been the same and you'll always be the same? So Wayru is thinking you've been pretty much a saver your whole life. Do you feel like that's been like a constant sort of a backbeat to your life in terms of your personality? That's cool. And where do you think some of that might have come from? So that
I think just growing up, so my parents moved to Australia from Singapore.
Okay.
And so there's always been that history of, if you want to get anything or do anything, you've got to work really hard and you have to save.
Okay, great, lovely. And this is wonderful and great to have that awareness and know that that's something that you've inherited. So most of us will inherit, you know, good, bad, in between. And what you're picking up there is money beliefs. So you're holding on to some money beliefs and values that your parents have passed on to you. Regardless of how you feel about them, I think it's really important to always honour them, even though they may be causing you challenge right now, because you can understand them. I think that's what we can get to as adults too, is that we can acknowledge that, like you beautifully said, that they came from the experience that they had and the way that where they grew up and how they worked, and that they migrated and all of the stress that could have gone with that, or the cultural impacts, or the value that they just have in hard work, that maybe that they really enjoyed the satisfaction of working hard and they want to instill that in you, which is a really amazing thing to have. And having that awareness and thinking about it and how it's showing up in your life, you can then also look to see, well, do you feel like it's imbalanced? Do you feel like do you ever have enjoyment with your money, or do you feel like you're always working really hard all the time? I'm not asking you to answer that now, but maybe it's something to think about, that it's, you know, is it in balance? Am I, you know, maybe that belief is a little bit too strong, and maybe I need to counterbalance it with my own culture. You can bring your own money culture into your life, as opposed to just always inheriting your parents or the culture from which you exist and live in as well, because we do have that. And there's a lot of obviously factors that do impact. So it's just taking that time and scheduling that time to reflect and think about, you know, am I enjoying the way I'm interacting with my money? Are there things that I would like to change? What are they? And just bringing that awareness to it is going to help. Isabel, why do you feel like you stick your head in the sand when it comes to money?
For me, it's been a completely different experience. Not such good experience as you, Wade. I come from South America. I came from a very privileged life. Yeah. So I never had to worry. I had to worry about money. We always had plenty of money. It was like money was never an issue at all. Okay. And I came to Australia because I fell in love with my husband, and we met on the internet 21 years ago when no one met on the internet. So it wasn't a dating site. I was not intending to meet anyone. I actually wanted to have some kind of, you know, friends, because I was having like pen pals. And I ended up meeting my husband through a chat room that Hotmail used to have. And that's how I ended up in Australia. So I did not have any intentions whatsoever to come to this country in a million years. And I ended up in here. So when I came here, then my life in a way changed, because I did not have the privileged life that I had back home. I know it's gonna sound terrible, but I didn't even know how to clean a toilet. I had no idea. I had never cleaned anything. I had never cooked anything. You know, we have people that did that for us, and in a way it was good, because we were giving people a way of life, you know, by handling all those people in your life, you are giving, you know, you're helping people. That's the way it is. It's not because, you know, we want to show off. No, it's just because seriously, that's how you help others. So, because we don't have welfare systems or anything like that back home. So I came here, and then I was like, oh my God, you know, like no idea, you know, like you had to pay rent and you had to pay electricity. I had really no idea about the world of money at all. So it was so daunting. It was, for me, it was just like, I didn't want to deal with it. You know, like I had never dealt with it. You know what I mean? And so all of a sudden it's like, whoa. So my husband wasn't, you know, the richest person in the world. And I was like, the first thing I did, I got him a better job, which I had no idea how even to look for work in Australia, but I thought there's got to be something better for you where you can make more money. So I don't know how you're gonna do it, but I'm gonna, and you know, this was 21 years ago. I would cut up the ads of the newspaper and I will leave it on his desk at night. I will apply for jobs. I don't even know how to look for work, but you do that and get yourself a better job, which he did, which was a good thing. But we still were not, you know what I mean? There was not enough money for my standard of living. You know what I mean? Like you know, like I remember the first time I went to the supermarket with him and it was $400, and this is 20 years ago. And he was like, we can't go shopping like this anymore. We can't, you know, we won't be able to afford anything else. So I was like, yeah, it was just too hard, and I became an ostrich. Okay. That's it.
And so where are you at now? Are you recognizing that there's a responsibility and an ownership that you've got to just, because that's an incredible experience to have gone through, and it's so lovely to hear a lot that, you know, different people's backstories, and of course that life of privilege that you're acknowledging, but also the value that it did provide to others. But what it's done is it's almost delayed that responsibility most people would need to go through in their late teens as they leave home, or have to, you know, start to manage their money and have a part-time job. It's been delayed for you. And you've then, what's happened is you've had an extended amount of time of not having to deal with those things. So that's a real challenge, and you can completely understand why. So it's putting your head in the sand because you probably felt incapable of dealing with any of those topics because they've not been anywhere near your radar. you just weren't something you were needing to do. So really understandable. Yeah.
I mean, it's terrible that in a way, and I like what you say about the parents, you know, they might have caused you grief, you know, and I know, and in my case, it was like, you know, nobody brought that up to my attention. You know what I mean?
No.
There's a world out there that one day you might encounter and you will have to pay bills, you know, and yeah, so for me, and now I'm in the process of, possibly I will retire in a sense of, you know, working part-time. So now I have, I'm thinking, well, I want to really know what I have. I have, you know, a little bit of, you know, superannuation, and I want to buy a house overseas with my money, with the superannuation. And then, but I want to open up a business. And I want to have more of a sense of what I need to do. I have been working like crazy, and I love to work. I'm a, you know, super hyperactive, so I cannot just sit down and go, I'm not gonna do nothing. But yeah, so I have worked, and all my money goes to my husband. Like he manages everything. I need $100 and he gives it to me, and I'm happy for that to happen, because I used to work in domestic violence, so I know how it is about financial abuse and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm happy for my husband to manage all of that, because I find all that money situation extremely stressful. Okay. So I'm happy to be managed in that way. You know what I mean?
Okay. But,
so
I would encourage you. That's it, and it's wonderful that he's there and able to support you. But there's still this opportunity for you to still recognize your own personal responsibility in please stay involved. That's all I would say. Yeah.
We are now, because you know, we're in the process of, I will go, okay, now I want to get, you know, I want to purchase a house.
Yeah.
And this is what we want to do, and I want to have more control of what I have, you know, I know where things are going. So so I decided to, you know, you are basically, this course is my first step in
wonderful
life.
Okay, good.
Have an idea of anything, because I want to be more proactive in that area.
Brilliant. And what's going to be really helpful is I think it's scheduled for November, Alison, is our next 3-part series, which is the financial wellbeing workshops, which I know Stefan did last year, which is really taking you through what are the things that you need to do to know, okay, where am I financially? Where do I want to go? And I actually teach you the tools. I give you the spreadsheets, and we work through it from week to week, and we do that together. And it's a really good foundation. It's a really good foundation for anybody who just wants to check in and say, okay, right, where am I? Set some goals, and it facilitates and supports all of that. So what I would really encourage is that you do that, and then you can use that tool to have a conversation with your husband about, you know, what is it that we're doing with our money? So you're really involved in the setting and the managing of the money as well. So it's really important in relationships to both be involved, to know, even if it's not you maintaining the spreadsheets, however, but that you see the numbers, you know what's happening, and that you're making the decisions together. Yeah. So you don't keep that same ostrich personality, and that you can because, and what we will talk through as well as we continue is that some of those, I can hear in the background, there's probably some underlying beliefs about capability. There's some emotions that are, you know, obviously you obviously can be fearful or unsure. And what we can do to overcome some of those as well, to make sure that we're confident and capable, and we're in the conversation about money, because particularly as women, really important that you don't sideline yourself. Because for the benefit of the whole family, we all need to be involved in the conversation. So yeah, really important. But thank you for sharing all of your background as well, and really understand now the reason why you would put yourself in that ostrich category. So that's brilliant. So I guess that this first key slide is really just saying that it's really important, which I think we can all acknowledge. Awareness is obviously everything. Self-awareness is everything, which we know, and we know that's a big topic at the moment, but we don't often think about it in terms of our relationship with money. So that's what I'm really encouraging people to do, is think about that. What a bit of a question here, which I'd be interested. So you've already told me when we were looking at the others, which I've said before, you know, I described that there's a lot of different categories that people use. So here we've got for another different type of looking at it. So we've got the money monk, the hoarder, the spender, the avoider. So Isabel, I would imagine you'd be putting yourself as the avoider category. Wei Ru, you'd probably be the hoarder, potentially there. I don't feel like you're seeing yourself as somebody who's at peace with money, or do you feel like you do have some of those? No. But Stefan, maybe you're feeling like, would you put yourself in the money monk category?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. Cool. So really, and really nice for you to just identify with these, but to not box yourself. So not to take on the badge of the ostrich for the rest of your life, unless that's what you choose to do. But I would really encourage you to just sort of see in this moment, I'm acknowledging that I can see that a lot of my money personality fits in with or is aligned with this kind of archetype, because that helps me to understand where I am right now. That's really the reason why I would encourage you to kind of look at some of these. Now looking at, okay, what are some of the different ways that we can help to increase our awareness? So we've really talked very broadly about some sort of high level categories and archetypes, and you can dig deeper into those. So I've got a couple here, and Stefan, I think that you had a couple of, I think it was a financial well-being quiz we might be able to send as well, but this is probably more talking about the personality. So I've just picked, you know, 3 here. You'll find them if you Google it, they're everywhere. So as I said, they go from this spectrum of being sort of more entertainment based, that you would sort of chat about with your mates and say, oh, what do you think you are, to being, you know, we've got the top one here that's sort of a partnership with Myers-Briggs. So they have that underlying personality assessment. So you can go on and you could just, you know, access them and see what they say. So the questions will also help you to explore your relationship with money a little bit deeper as well. So that's really what I'm hoping that you would gain from that. So get to know your personality in terms of using one of those tools that have been created. And what I would encourage is, I guess like all good researchers, you know, you want to look at a spectrum of different money personality tools if you want to kind of get a really good understanding. Maybe some that come from different cultural backgrounds too. So Ken Honda is a Japanese, quite a superstar in Japan. He writes a book about happy money, and he's got his own little quiz there. You know, so looking at different cultural assessments too might be quite helpful, just to give you a good rounded kind of understanding of getting some feedback, I guess, about, okay, yeah, what am I like with money? Also having a bit of, I know we're all into, well, self-care is a big thing at the moment, which is really important for mental well-being and well-being in general. But again, money is one of those things that doesn't sort of usually stay on the list, but I really encourage you to. So if you're in the practice of journaling, drawing, writing, I would really encourage you to add, you know, reflection on money to that practice. So even if it's maybe even if it's at times where you're feeling quite triggered by a money topic, to give yourself an opportunity to write about it. So if writing is a helpful tool for you, I'd really encourage you to do that, just to explore, you know, why is it that you felt so angry about somebody doing X? Or why is it that I feel like I never have enough? Or why is it that I work and I work and I work and I don't feel satisfied? So allow yourself to explore some of those aspects of your personality and beliefs through writing, if that's helpful. For others, it can be useful if you've got close friends and family. So Isabel, you began by sharing that you were having conversations, although they might have been heated, with your family about money. But if you have somebody, and if it can be a close partner, somebody who knows you well, that you could even, you know, start a conversation with them to understand, you know, how do they think that you are with money, or just to have somebody that you can talk to about it as well can help you to increase your awareness. And I guess I mentioned this with the journaling as well, but to sort of be aware of what your money emotional triggers are, because that can also help you to understand and reveal some of your deeper beliefs about money as well, that can be really helpful. And at this stage, what's really the most key activity is that awareness. So not to, and that's my final point here as well. So any sort of meditation or mindfulness practice will also help you in the domain of your money management as well, because obviously those skills and that spaciousness that you'll create through a mindfulness practice, you can then obviously use when you're dealing with money as well. Although money topics seem to contract our mind and add stress, whereas mindfulness creates that space and time between things. So wherever you can sort of bring those mindfulness practices in to topics of money, it can be helpful. But the key thing is at this stage is to not be judging. So I really want us to be really, compassionately self-aware is really, really important, because most of the time, and with a lot of the women that I work with too, we're very quick to judge. So, and be critical of, even if you were just looking at a high level, okay, what kind of personality am I? Most people would probably say it in a negative tone. So, I just, save and I don't get anywhere, or I put my head in the sand because I, whatever it is. Try to just observe and be aware of the beliefs and the thoughts and the feelings that you have with money. I'd even just encourage that for a month, just to give yourself that space to build up that awareness without judging it, to just see it for what it is. And you'll realize and experience quite a lot of value out of that. So that's kind of, some ways that you can increase your self-awareness. And a question here, which is a really important one for us to reflect on. So if we were just taking that standard, those 4 that I brought up before, those archetypes, is the hoarder better than the avoider? What would you say? Is one better than the other? So Waver is saying no. Alison's also saying no.
I think all extremes are always bad. But okay. Being myself an avoider, I think I'd rather be a hoarder than an avoider, but I'm not sure. But I think, of course, all extremes are bad.
Okay, extremes are bad. Okay, and Stefan, do you feel like any of the archetypes that we've sort of looked at very briefly today, would you feel like one's better than the other?
Not really. I think it also depends on the outcome. I guess, if we were to measure it like in hard cash, then hoarders probably preferable if the goal is to amass as much as possible. But if we look at it, I guess, in the broader concept of financial well-being, then avoider can actually be better for your subjective well-being, because you avoid stressful situation, whereas as a hoarder, you're always behind it. You may stress about not saving enough or other things. So it depends on the outcome, I reckon.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, great. So, and absolutely. So it depends on what it is that you are trying to achieve. Some of those different characteristics can be more helpful, but what I would encourage is that all of them can be helpful if they're used effectively. So to not, and I guess it's in alignment with the last slide where I'm really encouraging the compassionate self-awareness, is to know who you are, the tendencies and behaviours that you do have, and to not criticise them. So once you're aware of what you have, and you know that you're a avoider, and yes, you can acknowledge that sometimes that is actually useful, because if I sat and I worried about money all the time and I was hoarding constantly worried, that would take its toll on my well-being. But there's absolutely a balance to be had between all of them. And it's looking at what is that I am trying to achieve? What is financial well-being, or what is the financial life that I want? What are the goals that I want to achieve? And what is it then? What are the sort of the skill set, the tools that I have in terms of my personality that I can use to enable myself to support myself to achieve those? So yeah, I really encourage to not to criticize any of them, and particularly the one that you feel like you're relating to the most. It's really about knowing where you are right now, and then what can I do next? What can I do with that? So understanding why you are the way you are, which is great, but then what am I going to do with that to then achieve my goals? Okay, fabulous. So now we're just on to the sort of the last part here, is looking at what are some of the common limiting money beliefs that we often have, and I'll often find with clients as well. And we've kind of talked a little bit about some of these. I can hear some of them popping up through the conversations too, which is fabulous. And many of you would have heard them, maybe you relate to them, maybe you think of them, you might have heard them so much that you don't think that they play out for you. But it'd be interesting to sort of even do like a little bit of a stock take inventory for yourself, even as a little journaling exercise, to write down these limiting beliefs and acknowledge whether you do kind of, there's part of you that do believe that it's true. And that exploration can be really helpful. So the first one obviously is one that we hear a lot, is money is the root of all evil. So how do people feel? Do people feel like that's one that plays out for them? And is there part of you that believes that is true? Maybe. So where we're thinking of maybe a little bit, there can be a little bit, yeah. So, and we can see that, and again, it's I guess a part of what we're wanting to do when we're thinking about our personality in terms of money, but also the relationship we want to develop with money. It's a complex, we're complex being, and it's a complex topic. So it's some of these ideas and these beliefs, knowing where they came from is helpful. So some of our culture and what is actually communicated to us does reinforce some of these beliefs, and being aware of that can be really helpful. But knowing that having a belief like that really limits you and the way in which you will behave and what you will choose to do with your money. So there may be part of you that's actually seen a demonstration. We might see it in the news. Culture likes to reinforce this, that having money is evil, or people are, we see it when we're children, when we're watching Disney movies, you know, the rich, greedy person, you know, they're always the evil person. So we have these archetypes stuck in our brain that are being delivered to us. And whilst there are people who are rich currently, who live and don't seem like particularly nice people, we can also shift our focus and actually look for examples to challenge those beliefs and say, hang on, money's just money. It's not good or bad. There are people that we feel we align with and are doing good things, and some people that aren't, but it's the money that can enable some amazing things. So I'm going to go out and actually focus and see where are some people, and often you'll find that people who have money that are doing positive things aren't on the news. They don't want people to know. They're just out there doing things that are, so it's really important to also challenge and look for examples to reinforce and to challenge some of these things that sit in our brain. So I guess one of, replacement for that is that money is a resource that can be used for great good. So knowing that too, because there could be part of you that doesn't want to have too much wealth because you're scared that you're going to become a greedy, horrible person. Because that's what's being sort of displayed in culture for us. But you can actually challenge that and say, no, it would enable me to do X, Y, and Z, whatever it might be. So, and I guess that's the kind of the process that I'd like you to go through, individually. So some of the replacements that I have here, you might come up with other ones, or even look for examples, real concrete examples that challenge these beliefs. So another is that I have no control over whether I become wealthy or not. So some people feel so out of control and unable to create wealth for themselves. They feel like everything they do, they just cannot attract, they cannot save, they cannot invest, whatever it might be. Some people get stuck in a belief that the world is against them. So again, replacing that belief with something like, I can create the life and wealth I want. And this isn't just about silly mantras. I know there's a lot of that out in the well-being sort of space at the moment, where you just affirmations, and you're just saying it for saying its sake. But this is actually looking at these beliefs and understanding, why is it that I hold them? Where did they come from? And that you know that if you can't replace them and you can't give them a concrete, they're going to stay there. So it's really sort of like a curiosity exercise to kind of look and dig a little bit deeper into what you're thinking about money, and how some of it is actually preventing you from creating wealth and building wealth. Another one, which Waverly, I know you shared that you have, is that you have to work really hard to make money. So is that true? Is that always true? And what does working hard mean? Is working hard a bad thing? There are definitely some obviously values, and that's what I was sharing earlier, that, you know, it may be that your parents really enjoyed the satisfaction of working hard, which we've all experienced too. But then balanced with thinking it through, does it mean that I have to work so hard that I can never have fun? That's the only way to make money. Well, there's examples, obviously, that's not the case either. So you can love what you do it well, you know, your passion and skills solve problems and will lead to great profits. So, you know, bringing in some of those, acknowledging the skills that you have, also out of the domain, particularly in your fields of study, which I acknowledged right at the beginning, we all come from all different areas of study, but all of those problem-solving skills, those creative thinking skills, those communication skills, the curiosity skills, that's what builds a really healthy financial life. It's not being an accountant, it's not being, you know, a financial planner. You don't have to have that particular background. So acknowledging your whole self, your whole person, your whole experiences are really valuable to you. Another one is that money doesn't buy happiness. So what do we think about that? Do we agree that money doesn't buy happiness? So this is a tricky one. This is always one of those topics that people waver.
I think money buys you more options, and it certainly buys you greater access, especially for things like healthcare. So,
yep.
You know, it may not buy you happiness, but if it can buy you better medical interventions or better technologies, then that's definitely going to play a role in happiness.
Absolutely. So it's acknowledging that money has a value, because there are some people that are just so sick of money, they just wish they didn't have to worry about it, and I'm not going to think about it, because, you know, they just disagree with it as a concept, as an idea. But yes, it does have a value. It is important, because it's not about being rich and greedy, but it's about looking after and, you know, you stewarding those resources to look after yourself, the life that you're living, the family members that you care for, and absolutely having access to health, and that's going to improve your well-being, certainly. So it doesn't buy happiness, and I think, I'm not sure, there's a very common sort of, study that's done around lottery winners, so people who really win large amounts of money, and, you know, the number of years it takes to where they're more dissatisfied with life than they were before they even received the money. So the overwhelm and the responsibility and the choices and all the struggles and the challenge that comes with large quantities of money is also there. So I guess the thing is to acknowledge is that stress, you can experience financial stress at any end of the spectrum, and obviously those stresses are different. But you're just coming back to, I guess, coming to peace with where you are and managing the situation that you're in, not wondering about those other people, but I'm right here, this is my financial situation, and I'm going to honour it. I'm going to steward the money and the resources that I have to achieve, you know, whatever the goals are that you feel like, the experiences that you want in life. So yes, it doesn't buy happiness, but yeah, as I have here too, is that it does buy the resources and choices to create a good life for yourself or others, or care or look after for, absolutely. And then the last one, which is really common as well, and unfortunately I do work through with a lot of women, is the challenge that they've had in their schooling, is that not having been a particularly capable maths student, well, so a teacher has told them, they walk through life feeling really incapable as a financial manager, as incapable. They'll think that they're not good at managing money because somebody told them they were bad at maths at school, and that the weight of that is incredible. So there's a lot of work. I work with people to really unravel all of that and get them to a place where they can see that the skills that they have are hugely valuable, and that the actual mathematical skills you need are very basic and are very easy to learn as well, which is what we'll do in the wellbeing workshops as well in November. And the key thing as well that links in with this whole workshop topic too is that financial success isn't driven by mathematical ability. It's actually, the research will show it's predominantly driven by your behaviour. So yes, having, understanding of a couple of financial tools, being able to budget, being able to add up, knowing what your income is, what your expenses are, being able to manage that. But it's your behavior and understanding your personality and the impact that that has, the choices that it drives, is really what will be the significant indicator into whether the financial wealth and outcomes that you'll achieve. So know that's why behavior is so important. Stefan, yes.
Yeah, I guess that's also exactly what I found, that behavior is the key predictor of financial well-being, and financial literacy may have helped you like engage in better behaviors, but overall it's mediated through the behavior.
Yeah,
and
fabulous.
In a sense, yeah, I don't think you have to be good at math, because like essentially it's a basic survival skill in a way, that you prepare for bad times. We just replaced money, or we just replace like growing food and all those resources with money. And back in the day, you did store your food for winter when you can't grow and all that sort of stuff. So I think people probably need to reconnect a bit more to the idea of what it is, to not spend more than you have and to prepare for a rainy day. And you don't have to be smart for that. Like you
no, that's absolutely right. And when was your research focused in on that area?
Yeah behavior and attitudes.
Oh, well, maybe we can all, when it's all finished, we should go and access it too. We'll read it. No, that's fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing that too, because that's exactly what I've found as well. And nice to just hear again that it is, I think the financial world makes it overly complicated with terms, and it makes you feel like that you're not keeping up. And what about this? And what about that investment? And then this interest rate and that, and then you get all confused. But coming back to the basics is exactly what you've just shared there, which is the most powerful thing is, and it's actually often how I'll explain it as well. It's almost like how you manage your own, you're talking about food, back in the day, but even if you're managing your own food in your own household now, knowing, how much that you need each week, what are you making? You want to have some aside. You don't want your pantry to be completely empty at the end of the week. How you manage all of that. Those same basic skills are is all that you need for money. So it's just those foundational things, and being able to delay the gratification too, and knowing that you don't need. So it's the cultural things that really, the pressures that interfere and distract us and take away our ability to just focus in on those really simple, basic, powerful behavioural patterns that definitely are the thing that when you look at research studies, are the thing that provide financial outcomes is certainly those behaviours. Basic behaviours, put things aside. I find personally just shifting the energy that you might have around money that we often get from culture, which is all about making more, and it's got to be more and growth and build up quickly and build wealth, is it almost becoming a mindfulness practice of and a stewarding, really bringing that beautiful, peaceful energy to your money and to valuing it like it's a growing being, it's something that you've got to care for, and bringing some of those same qualities to the way in which you interact with it can be really helpful. So it's just that shift can be quite good. So I hope that's helpful in terms of just looking at what some of the common things that may be sitting in, ticking away in the back of your mind, and some of the different ways you might be able to think about to sort of break down those common beliefs. So my last little bit here is, so what are you going to do to positively change your relationship with money? Now that we're sort of coming to the end of the workshop, what are some of the things that you might, and I've obviously put out some ideas here as well of what you might do as a takeaway. So there's lots of different books that you could read, but that's obviously something not everybody has time for, and I know that you're all reading all the time and so busy, but finding something that might help you to sort of rethink, not necessarily a hardcore finance book that's getting into the numbers just yet, but that one, for example, Your Money, Your Life, was written quite a while ago, but it's much more about just challenging you to think about what is what is money to you? You know, what is enough? What is it that you want out of life? So that might be, that just popped it out there as a book that I found quite interesting. And certainly looking for those that do help you to understand some of your beliefs and behaviours around money can be really helpful. And as we've talked about already as well, thinking about, you know, your life up until now, what were some of your experiences growing up with money? What's one thing that your parents did that you liked? So it's kind of that you would like to replicate, but then maybe one that you would like to do differently. So really honouring and acknowledging that some of the way in which we behave with money is heavily impacted by what we saw when we were growing up as children, which we've shared a little bit of already, which is great. But really having that balanced point of view to sort of be able to move past. And sometimes it's justified for people to be quite angry or frustrated with the experience that they had and they wish it was different. And certainly, you know, work through that, but getting to a point where you can acknowledge, okay, now I'm an adult and I can be responsible and manage my own financial relationship. What's one thing that I did see that my parents did well? Maybe it's just that they talked about money. Maybe they saved or they enjoyed it, or they saved for a holiday, whatever it might be, just to hold a positive and to really, I guess, honour that and value that is really important. And then something that maybe you want to do differently. So you might see that they worried about something, or that they worked too hard and you don't want to be quite that sort of stressed, to think about how you might do it differently. And then another, I guess the key thing is, although we're not really talking about what we do with our money here, is more sort of the behavioural patterns, but always a positive thing to do with money that always makes us feel good, as long as you've done your budget and you've worked out how much you need to pay for things. But if you've got a little bit left over, giving a bit of money away always helps to give perspective, you know, with the money that you do have, the value that it can bring and that it can bring to others. It doesn't always have to be actual money either, but acknowledging that, I know, as Isabel said, you know, even in your past growing up, that giving somebody the opportunity to have a job and earn money is also a really positive part of the whole, you know, system of finances as well, and being able to acknowledge that too. So yeah, so just some ideas of things that you could go away with from the workshop today to do. So that kind of brings us to the end of what I wanted to take you through. How did everybody find that in terms of, you know, topics and things to think about? Was it helpful? Yeah, all good. Okay, lovely. So just again, just a reminder, if you do want to get in touch with me and talk about anything one-to-one in a confidential private space, that I'm available for the one-on-one sessions. And just to email, I think Alison's yes, added up in the chat there as well, so that's lovely. And that's something that SCPA is supporting, so it's really nice that I've been able to partner with them to provide that service and support to you. As again, my main mission is to hopefully help as many students as I can to really help you to feel more capable and confident financially. So it just takes away that cognitive load that I know financial matters does play in people's lives. So you can just get that time and space back to apply it to your studies and your career and your families. So yeah, it was lovely having you all here today. And I hope that you might be interested in some of the future workshops too that we've got coming up. And the financial wellbeing 3-part one. Isabel, it'd be great to see you in there, and Wei-Ru as well if you're interested.
I was supposed to say, Alison, yeah, do let us know where to register to make sure that, you know, put the time aside for that.
Of course, I will. I usually post all our workshops coming up on the on our Blackboard site for postgraduate students.
Okay.
And I often kind of email everyone from there. Yeah. Thanks so much, Liz. It gave us a lot to think about personalities. You know, I think, you know, just sort of thinking about it very different when I was younger to what I am now. So it's good to kind of see that development over time. Yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
Fascinating.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really, really nice. Well, thank you, everybody, and best of luck with all your studies too, wherever you move into that PhD program. Enjoy. And Stefan, enjoy your holidays.
Thank you.
Yes, and congratulations. I'm sure it'll be soon when you'll have that final communication that it's completed.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for approval, and then
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. So yeah, really amazing. But enjoy your holiday.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
Thank
Lovely.
you, Liz.
Thank you so
That was
much.
really
Thank
good.
you.
Thank
I
you,
love
Liz.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay.
Lovely. No problem.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.